So, Sunday morning, Esther has prepared a special breakfast, and Dae woke up rather early for her, anticipating that there would be a great meal. And Brandy came out early too. She was excited because she knew in her heart Dae had won the cross-country race. And Esther had already been out, had picked up 5 different papers offered at the newsstand, 3 major Chicago papers and a couple smaller ones. And they all talked about the cross-country race and the 6th hour girls from Grant High School having done extremely well in the race. A lot of different comments about how every one of the girls from Grant High had broken the old state record, something nobody ever thought possible. So, Dae and Brandy, they're enjoying breakfast. It's waffles and diced potatoes, and Esther had some cut up fresh fruit. She had made some whipped cream, and of course there was the Jamaican coffee. And so Aunt Brandy said, had they verified that they won? And Esther said, absolutely. Esther had already read the papers. She said, however, after studying the film and the photos, they knew Dae had been out front by at least a foot. They couldn't figure out who was second place, so there was a six-way tie for second place, which included Raven and obviously 5 other girls from Grant High. And Brandy felt reassured that she was correct, that yes, Dae had won, and she was telling Dae how she knew she had won, that she was extremely fast. So they enjoyed breakfast and they talked for a little while, and then Ester and Dae, they took off in the Escalade to go pick up Raven and Riley Grace. They were going to do some work at the grocery store. So when Riley Grace jumps into the Escalade, she gives Dae a quick kiss on the cheek and tells her, congratulations, I knew you had won, and you were so fast, and the papers all talk about you, and they're calling you a champion of champions because everybody in the 6th hour team came out champions. They'd all beat the state record. She said, It was just amazing, all the compliments they were giving you, she said, and it was very exciting. So Raven made the comment. She said, "You only had one speed, and it was just always slightly faster than mine." He said, "I tried passing you the whole time, but I couldn't. You were just always ahead by inches, the whole race." And Raven smiled. So they ended up at their father's grocery store, Mr. Ho's grocery store. And they all went in, they all gave him a big hug and a kiss, and Esther had brought some food for Mr. Ho, so he went in the back to enjoy that. And the girls went about to do their job, stocking the shelves and cleaning up. And around noon, they had pretty much taken care of everything. A couple young men walked in. They were going to work with Mr. Ho the rest of the day. And so the girls were free to leave, and they talked to Mr. Ho, and he asked what they had in their mind and to do. And well, Esther had a surprise for Riley Grace. They were going to go out to it was her cousin's cycle shop, Mr. Jan, and he rented bikes, and behind the shop they were going to all jump in and do some off-road cycling so that Riley Grace could learn how to ride a motorcycle. Riley Grace was extremely excited. So they took off to do that. There was a large flat area behind the cycle shop that they practiced on for about a half hour, I believe. And then they took off for the back woodsy area that had a trail. Riley Grace was their natural. Extremely comfortable on the bike. So they all enjoyed that. So when they were done riding their off-road bikes, Esther then said, "Let's go visit my friend Axel Bouhler. He's promised us a special luncheon." And so the girls became rather excited about that because they knew Axel was a very special person, and his brother as well, Otto. So they take off to go see the Bouhler brothers. Once they get there, they're greeted naturally, and it was Riley Grace and Raven's first time there, and Axel welcomed both of them, and walking in, Axel said to Riley Grace, "Do you speak any German?" And she actually answered him in German, saying, "I am a student of the German language, and I am learning it." And Raven and Dae were rather shocked. Esther already knew this, and Axel made the comment, "Well, the German language is a strong language, and I believe you will learn it very well. So they went into a large dining room, and on a table off to the side was a huge assortment of cheeses and lunch meats, different lunch meats, as well as some breads. And so half a dozen different mustards too. So the girls all made sandwiches and sat down, and Riley Grace made a comment that she had never had lunch meats that were so good. And she said Raven and her had had many lunch meats in the past. Well, it made Axel and Otto feel really good. They said, oh, they actually buy from an importer once a month, and that it comes straight from Germany. And so Esther made a comment, well, perhaps our father should look into this because he likes to sell quality food, and this is the best that I've ever had too. And so at that point, one of Otto's security people walks in and whispers something into Otto's ear. Well, Esther naturally has extremely good hearing, with the aid of a hearing aid that she seldom talks about. And the man tells Otto that there's a Mercedes out front. It's a Mercedes-Benz CLS 400 with two people in it making themselves rather obvious. And they're from a German family that used to compete with the Bouhlers. And they're keeping an eye on them. Well, Otto didn't like this, and Esther spoke up and said, I have a friend that I believe could take care of this issue. Well, Axel said to his brother Otto, let's let Esther do this. She is a very capable person, and she's always surprising me. So they agreed, and Esther pulled out her phone and was able to reach her good friend John almost immediately on the speed dial. And she said to John, don't you ever go home? And John's comment was, this is my home, Esther, you know that. And so he said, what can I do for you, Esther? Esther said, well, my good friends, Otto and Axel, they have a nuisance out front of their home. Seems like some old competition doesn't believe that Otto Bouhler has retired, and they're making themselves a nuisance by watching him. And Esther said, perhaps you could pull them in and warn them that the federal government's watching the Bouhlers, realizing that they are retired and they like it that way, and they don't want people upsetting them. And John made the comment, I got people in the area, we can do that right away. How long would you like me to hold them, Esther? Esther said, well, probably 24 hours. Just make it clear to them that you don't want the Bouhler family annoyed anymore, that they're retired and you appreciate that. And he said, consider it done. And he said, Esther, have a great day. and he hung up. Within seconds, several cars pulled in around the Mercedes-Benz out front, pulled the two men out, cuffed them, took them away, and within a few minutes, the car had been towed off. So Axel and Otto, they looked at Esther and smiled and said, "We also have dessert." And everybody says, "Well, what will that be?" And Otto said, "It's going to be German chocolate cake. And you'll never have had anything like this. Guarantee it." And so they all went into the kitchen where the cake had been pulled out and was going to be served warm. It was just cooling down enough that now Axel could cut it. And he had a special chocolate syrup that he drizzled over just lightly pieces of the cake as he cut them. The girls loved it. So they enjoyed visiting the Bouhlers. Finally, Esther said, "We're going to have to leave. My uncle, Hung, he has promised to show me how to do some cooking in his restaurant, the Chatin Cuisine." And Esther said proudly that, and she appeared very excited, and the Bouhlers could tell that she was looking forward to this, so they said, "Well, then you should leave, and we'll look forward to your next visit." And so the girls all took off. Otto mentioned that Axel's birthday was next month, and they were going to have a birthday party, and the girls would all be invited. Riley Grace got excited because she had never been to a birthday party invited before. And Otto said, "Well, we'll do something special for you when you show up." And he winked at her. And then the girls jumped in the Escalade and took off for the Chatin Cuisine restaurant.